Did you know that the possibility of conceiving a child without traditional conception was once considered science fiction? In today's world, in vitro fertilization, or IVF, has made it possible for millions of couples to fulfill their dreams of becoming parents. But how did we get here? How did science progress from a mere concept to a life-changing reality? Today we're diving into the fascinating history of IVF, how it was discovered, the brilliant minds behind it, the first successful case, and its evolution into the advanced procedure we know today. This story is one of perseverance, innovation, and hope. So, sit back, relax, and let's explore the remarkable journey of IVF. The concept of creating life outside the human body was nothing short of revolutionary. The story begins in the 19th century when scientists first began to explore the mechanics of human reproduction. In 1878, a German embryologist named Oskar Hertwig made a groundbreaking discovery. He was the first to observe the fertilization of an egg by a sperm under a microscope. This moment marked the beginning of understanding how life is formed at a cellular level. During the same period, another scientist, Walter Heap, successfully transferred a fertilized egg from one rabbit to another in 1890, leading to a live birth. While this experiment was conducted on animals, it laid the foundation for future reproductive research. These early experiments set the stage for what would eventually become one of the most significant medical advancements of the 20th century, IVF. Fast forward to the 20th century. The early 1900s were a time of rapid scientific progress. Researchers were becoming increasingly interested in fertility and reproduction, spurred by these early findings. It was during the 1930s that the concept of in vitro fertilization began to take shape. Several researchers started experimenting with the possibility of fertilizing an egg outside the human body. Although these attempts were unsuccessful, they were crucial in developing the techniques and knowledge needed for future breakthroughs. One of the pioneering figures in this field was Dr. Gregory Pincus, an American biologist who later co-invented the birth control pill. In 1934, Pincus conducted experiments on rabbits demonstrating that eggs could be fertilized outside the body, but his work didn't progress to the point of creating viable embryos. The idea was there, but the technology and understanding were still in their infancy. However, the dream of IVF was slowly becoming a reality. The real breakthrough in IVF came decades later, thanks to two remarkable individuals, Dr. Robert Edwards and Patrick Steptoe. Their work would change the world forever. Dr. Robert Edwards was a British physiologist with a keen interest in human reproduction. He believed that in vitro fertilization could help couples struggling with infertility. But it wasn't until he teamed up with Patrick Steptoe, a gynecologist and expert in laparoscopy, that the dream began to take shape. Their partnership began in the 1960s, and together, they started working on the idea of fertilizing human eggs outside the body. While Edwards focused on the biological aspects, Steptoe's expertise in laparoscopic surgery allowed them to retrieve eggs from a woman's ovaries, a critical step in the IVF process. The duo faced numerous challenges, from ethical concerns to technical difficulties. They experimented for years, enduring countless failures, yet their persistence paid off. After years of research, experimentation, and perseverance, the world witnessed a medical miracle. On July 25, 1978, the first successful IVF baby was born. Her name was Louise Brown, and her birth was a momentous occasion in medical history. The procedure took place in Oldham General Hospital in England, and the world watched in awe as a new era in reproductive medicine began. Louise's parents, Leslie and John Brown, had been trying to conceive for 9 years without success. They sought help from Dr. Edwards and Patrick Steptoe, who were willing to try the then experimental procedure of IVF. The cost of the procedure was around £2,000, a significant amount at the time, but it was a price the Browns were willing to pay for a chance at parenthood. Louise's birth was a global sensation, making headlines worldwide. For the first time, a child had been born through a process that began in a laboratory, challenging the very notion of human reproduction. While Louise Brown's birth was a scientific triumph, it was not without controversy. The idea of creating life in a lab raised numerous ethical and moral questions. Religious groups, ethicists, and even some scientists debated the implications of IVF. Could we be playing God by intervening in the natural process of conception? Would this technology lead to designer babies where parents could choose traits for their children? And what about the fate of unused embryos? These questions sparked heated debates that continue to this day. However, as more IVF procedures were performed successfully, and as more children were born healthy, the technology gained wider acceptance. Dr. Edwards and Steptoe faced criticism and resistance from many quarters, but their determination never wavered. They believed in the potential of IVF to change lives, and history has proven them right. Following the birth of Louise Brown, the field of reproductive medicine entered a period of rapid growth. IVF clinics began to emerge worldwide, and the procedure started to become more accessible to couples struggling with infertility. The first IVF clinic in the United States opened in 1981 at the Eastern Virginia Medical School, where Elizabeth Carr became the first American IVF baby in December of that year. This marked the beginning of IVF's expansion beyond the UK and into the global arena. As technology improved, success rates began to rise, and IVF became a more viable option for many couples. Techniques such as cryopreservation or freezing embryos and embryo transfer further enhanced the success of IVF, allowing for more flexibility and higher chances of pregnancy. By the 1990s, IVF had become a widely accepted and sought-after procedure for couples facing infertility, offering hope to millions around the world. At this point in our story, we've seen how IVF evolved from a scientific dream to a reality that changed the world. If you're finding this journey as fascinating as we do, and if you want to stay informed about more incredible stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Don't miss out on our upcoming videos where we dive into the science, history, and stories that shape our world today. As the popularity of IVF grew, so did the technology behind it. The 1980s and 1990s saw significant advancements that improved success rates and made the procedure safer and more effective. One major development was intracytoplasmic sperm injection, or ICSI, introduced in the early 1990s. ICSI involves injecting a single sperm directly into an egg, which is particularly useful in cases of male infertility. This technique dramatically increased the chances of successful fertilization and has become a standard part of many IVF procedures today. Another important advancement was pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, or PGD, which allows doctors to screen embryos for genetic disorders before implantation. This technology offers peace of mind to couples at risk of passing on genetic conditions to their children. These innovations, along with improvements in laboratory techniques and embryo culture, have significantly increased the success rates of IVF over the years. Today, IVF is more efficient, safer, and more accessible than ever before. The impact of IVF extends far beyond the medical field. However, IVF has also brought up complex ethical and social questions. The accessibility and cost of IVF can vary widely, leading to debates about who should have access to these technologies and at what cost. Additionally, the rise of fertility treatments has led to discussions about the commodification of reproduction and the potential for exploitation in surrogacy and egg donation. In the early days of IVF, the procedure was not only experimental, but also extremely expensive. For example, the Browns paid around £2,000 in 1978, which would be equivalent to over £12,000 today. At that time, IVF was accessible only to those who could afford the high costs associated with the procedure. Over the years, the cost of IVF has become more variable. In some countries, including the UK, certain IVF cycles are covered by the public healthcare system for eligible couples. In the United States, however, the cost can range from $12,000 to $15,000 per cycle, not including medication costs, which can add several $1,000s more. Despite the high costs, many couples are willing to invest in IVF for the chance to have a child. However, the financial burden can be significant, leading to calls for better insurance coverage and more affordable options. As we look to the future, the field of reproductive medicine continues to evolve. Researchers are exploring new technologies and techniques that could further enhance the success rates and accessibility of IVF. One promising area of research is gene editing. With tools like CRISPR, scientists are exploring the possibility of correcting genetic defects in embryos before they are implanted. While this technology is still in its early stages and raises ethical questions, it could potentially reduce the risk of genetic disorders in future generations. Another area of interest is artificial gametes. Scientists are working on creating eggs and sperm from stem cells, which could offer new hope to individuals who are unable to produce their own gametes. This technology could also open up new possibilities for same-sex couples and single individuals to have genetically related children. Additionally, advancements in AI and machine learning are being applied to IVF. These technologies can help improve the selection of embryos for transfer, potentially increasing success rates and reducing the number of cycles needed to achieve pregnancy. Beyond the science and technology, the real impact of IVF is felt in the lives of the families it creates. Over the decades, countless individuals and couples have shared their personal stories of struggle, hope, and joy through IVF. These stories highlight the emotional and psychological journey that many people go through during the IVF process. From the initial diagnosis of infertility to the roller coaster of emotions that come with each cycle, IVF can be an incredibly challenging experience. However, these stories also showcase the incredible resilience and determination of those who pursue IVF. For many, the journey ends with the joy of holding their long-awaited child in their arms, making every challenge and setback worth it. These personal stories remind us that behind every scientific breakthrough are real people whose lives are transformed by these technologies. They are a testament to the power of hope, perseverance, and love. The introduction of IVF has had a profound impact on culture and society. It has changed the way we think about family, parenthood, and reproduction. IVF has also been featured in numerous films, television shows, and books, reflecting its influence on popular culture. From heartwarming stories of families overcoming infertility to ethical dramas exploring the implications of assisted reproduction, IVF has become a part of the cultural conversation. In many ways, IVF has challenged traditional notions of family and parenthood. It has opened up new possibilities for creating families, allowing individuals and couples who might not have been able to have children through traditional means to experience the joys of parenthood. At the same time, IVF has also sparked important discussions about the ethical and social implications of reproductive technologies. These conversations continue to evolve as new technologies emerge and as society grapples with the complex questions they raise. IVF has had a global impact, but its availability and acceptance vary widely around the world. In some countries, IVF is widely accessible and supported by public healthcare systems, while in others, it is limited or even prohibited. In countries like the United Kingdom, Australia, and many European nations, IVF is often covered by national health services, making it more accessible to a broader population. In contrast, in the United States, the cost of IVF can be prohibitively expensive for many, leading to significant disparities in access. Cultural attitudes towards IVF also differ. In some cultures, there is strong support for assisted reproduction, while in others, there may be stigma or ethical concerns associated with the use of such technologies. Despite these differences, IVF continues to spread and evolve around the world, offering hope to countless individuals and couples facing infertility. As more countries adopt and adapt these technologies, the global landscape of reproductive medicine will continue to change. As we conclude our journey through the history of IVF, it's clear that this medical innovation has left an indelible mark on the world. From the first successful procedure to the millions of lives created through IVF, the impact of this technology is profound and far-reaching. The legacy of IVF is one of hope and possibility. It has given millions of people the chance to become parents, to experience the joys of raising a child, and to create families that might not have been possible otherwise. At the same time, IVF has also opened up new questions and challenges for society. It has pushed the boundaries of what is possible in medicine and science, raising important ethical, social, and cultural questions that we continue to grapple with today. As we look to the future, the story of IVF is far from over. New technologies and advancements will continue to shape the field of reproductive medicine, offering new possibilities and challenges. But at its core, the story of IVF is about the human spirit, the desire to create life, to overcome challenges, and to find hope in the face of adversity. It's a story that continues to inspire, to provoke thought, and to bring joy to millions of families around the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of IVF. If you found this story as fascinating and inspiring as we have, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell. We'll be bringing you more incredible stories just like this one, exploring the science, history, and human experiences that shape our world. Make the background music history story.